Cody Rhodes got his belts, but Hangman went through hell to earn his title. Let's talk about it.
Tears in his eyes as he surveys the crowd, as he surveys the carnage. As the realization sets in. Here it is!
Hangman Adam Page claimed the AEW World title at All In Texas this past Saturday. And it had me thinking a lot about that moment and what everybody felt during it. You know, people talk about finishing stories these past, I would say, 3 years that Cody Rhodes returned to WWE. And to be honest with you, the story that he finished wasn't really his story. His story, we don't even know what his story is. At this point, the story he finished was his father's. Hangman Adam Page finished the story of a lifetime for himself because it not only was about freeing the AEW title from the briefcase, but it was about getting redemption. It was about being vindicated. It was about getting forgiveness, not only from his enemies, but from the AEW crowd and Tony Khan himself. But before we get into that, let's go back and talk about Cody Rhodes for a second here. You see, because Cody, during his run to get the title, he didn't go through anything close to what Hangman did. You see, Hangman went through adversities, trials, and tribulations. Meanwhile, Cody, well, back in 2023, he came out at number 30 in the Royal Rumble. Think about that for a minute. 30. He didn't have to go against all the other people that were in there, like Brock Lesnar and a bunch of other people. Hey, Brock, just naming Brock is just enough to let you know that he skipped over a bunch. Shows up at the end, gets the win, and then goes on to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns, and we know how that ends. Solo Sikoa Spike, Roman Reigns retains. Okay, sure. So Cody should go through some, trials and tribulations and some adversity for next time, right? No, of course not. No, of course not, because all this man did was what? Face Brock. That's about it. And then he ends up doing stuff with Jey Uso, and then you get Randy Orton, and then Seth, and then War Games match, and then fast forward, CM Punk shows up, and yada yada, spiel. But again, he didn't really go through much, because now you fast forward back to the next Royal Rumble, and what happens? Does he come out first, second? No, he comes out at number 15, halfway through the Rumble. People are already killing themselves up at this point. He goes halfway through the Rumble, and then he ends up winning. And then he ends up pointing directly at Roman. Wasn't supposed to do that, by the way. Ends up pointing directly at Roman, saying he's going to challenge him. And then we get to that Mania. Oh, Jesus Christ. I say the most adversity this man went through was against The Rock on that one episode of Raw when Rock pulled up on him and was beating him up outside in the rain. That was good stuff. But besides that, dude didn't do anything to get to this goal that he set. The story that the story that he claimed to be his when in reality was really just his father's. You get to WrestleMania, he loses in night one in the tag team match. And then you get to night two, and he needs the help of John Cena, The Undertaker, just boatloads of the entire Avengers at this point to get his W. So yeah, he ends up by the end of it finishing his story. But either way, people may say they felt something, but it didn't really feel like anything to me and to most other people out there. It didn't feel like he actually finished a story. It finished like he just jotted something down on a bucket list. Because soon after, Cody, title reign, just downhill. immediately. Which brings me back to Hangman Adam Page, because the guy went through a lot. For those who don't know, over the course of the past 2 years, the stuff he had to deal with Swerve Strickland invading his house, traumatizing his family, the wars he went through with him, even burning his house completely down, childhood home that he had, the steel cage match where they went completely insane, man, injected Swerve's face with a needle and chair shot to the face. They were wild. They were going insane in that match. Like, he had to go through wars emotionally and physically, trying to get back to the belt that he once held. He was a complete loss. A man lost a piece of himself doing all this. This man was not the same person that he was when he first held the AEW title. He was on a warpath, angry as hell. But the one thing that always stood on his mind was reclaiming the AEW title. So when he joined in the Owen Hart tournament, he had to go through Jeff Jarrett, and he went through Jay White, and even reaching the finals to face Bryan Danielson, but he could not claim his spot because Bryan Danielson ended up pinning him. Even after this, his beef with Swerve still continued, showing up during his title match against Daniel Bryan and pretty much almost costing him that belt. And then now, shortly after that, his crash outs were continuing. It even boiled over into Christopher Daniels and facing him in a match, and he pretty much retired Christopher Daniels after that match. But even then, he was starting to change. He was starting to feel something different, you know? Started to feel remorse for the stuff that he's caused the other people. And then later on that year, he joins the Owen Hart tournament once again to try to again reach back at the gold. His wild card opponent, Josh Alexander of the Don Callis family, finds his way through him, then gets through Kyle Fletcher, and then he reaches into Double or Nothing to face off against Will Ospreay. And in that match, they went to war with each other. I tell you this, I really thought Will Ospreay was going to win that match. But Hangman stood strong and got the win, which set up his match against Jon Moxley at All In Texas, which eventually became the Texas Death Match that we witnessed that Saturday. I say all this to say that Hangman Adam Page went through hell and high water just to reach back as AEW champion. Again, during that time with CM Punk and with the crowd turning on him after all the problems that he went through with calling out Punk's problems from the outside world, him losing, and Tony Khan losing trust in him. It was just a list of things, but all that's gone now. You know, years have gone by. He's went through all those struggles just to reach this point. And he was actually able to finish his story and get the redemption that he needed. He's now regained the trust of Tony Khan, the trust of the fans. The question is, now that he has the AEW World title, what is next for Hangman Adam Page? How can Hangman Adam Page not end up in a situation like Cody Rhodes, where once he gained the title, you have to ask yourself what's next every single time? Because, you know, the emotional highs aren't always long-term hooks. So now you have to ask yourself, what is truly next for Hangman Adam Page? Well, I guess I can save that for another video.